The day I found out, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat very, very still, staring at a spreadsheet that didn't make sense, and slowly realized that the man I'd built everything with for 7 years had been robbing me blind for almost 2 of them, $240,000. Gone. Not in one clean theft, not in some dramatic heist, just slowly, quietly, transaction by transaction, while I was at my daughter's school plays, and my father's hospital appointments, and my own birthday dinners. My business partner was bleeding my company dry. And the worst part? He thought I'd never figure it out. Let me take you back to 2017. I was 31, working 60-hour weeks at a marketing agency I hated, and I had an idea I couldn't stop thinking about. A boutique logistics consulting firm that would serve mid-size e-commerce brands. I knew the industry. I knew the gaps. I just needed a partner. That's when I met Daniel. We'd been introduced through a mutual contact at a networking event. He was charming in the way that makes you feel chosen. Like he saw something in you that other people had missed. He had a finance background, knew how to read a balance sheet, and had this calm confidence that made every room feel more manageable. We spent 3 months talking strategy before we ever signed anything. By the time we did, I genuinely believed I had found someone I could trust with my livelihood, my family's livelihood. I was right about almost everything. The business model worked. We grew fast. By year 2, we had 11 clients and were clearing $500,000 in annual revenue. By year 4, we'd crossed the 7-figure mark, and Daniel was indispensable. He ran all the finances, invoicing, accounts payable, payroll, taxes. I handled client relationships, strategy, and delivery. It was a clean split. It made sense, which is exactly why it took so long to notice anything was wrong. It started with a vendor invoice. That didn't look right. We had a recurring payment to a software vendor, a project management tool we used internally. I happened to pull up the invoice one afternoon because I was comparing quotes for an upgrade, and I noticed the address was wrong. Not wrong like a typo, wrong like this vendor was located in a city I'd never heard of, billed to an entity name I didn't recognize. I mentioned it to Daniel casually. He laughed it off. Oh yeah, they switched billing systems. I'll look into it. And that was that, except I couldn't stop thinking about it. So that weekend, without telling him, I requested full read-only access to our accounting software under the pretense of preparing for our annual review, and I spent 11 hours on a Saturday going through 5 years of transactions. What I found made my hands shake. There were dozens of vendor payments to companies I'd never approved. Small amounts at first, $800 here, $1,200 there, but they escalated. By the 3rd year, there were monthly payments ranging from $3,000 to $18,000 to a total of 6 shell companies. I cross-referenced the business names. 3 of them were registered to a holding company. That holding company's registered agent, Daniel's wife. Here is the most important thing I can tell you. If you ever find yourself in this situation, do not confront the person immediately. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to call Daniel and destroy him on the phone. I wanted him to know that I knew. I wanted the satisfaction of watching him scramble, but I didn't, because I'd read enough about fraud cases to know that the moment a target gets spooked, evidence disappears, files get deleted, money moves, stories get aligned. Instead, I called a forensic accountant on Monday morning. I called a business litigation attorney on Monday afternoon. And I told exactly 3 people what I'd found: my wife, my attorney, and the accountant. Over the next 3 weeks, we built the case. The forensic accountant went through every transaction and confirmed what I'd suspected, and then some. The final tally came to $241,400 over 22 months, transferred in 87 separate transactions, almost all under $5,000 to avoid triggering automatic flags. This wasn't impulsive. This was methodical. He had planned it from the beginning. My attorney filed for emergency injunctive relief to freeze our business accounts and prevent any asset transfer before we served Daniel. The court granted it within 48 hours. On a Tuesday morning, Daniel arrived at the office to find that his access to our systems had been revoked, his keycard deactivated, and a process server waiting with legal documents. I watched from a coffee shop across the street. I'm not proud of that, but I needed to see it. The civil case settled 8 months later. Daniel agreed to a structured repayment plan, covering the full $241,400, plus legal fees, a total of just under $290,000. In exchange, we agreed not to pursue the criminal fraud charges, which his attorney argued would destroy his ability to ever repay anything. I took that deal, not because I forgave him, but because I wanted the money back more than I wanted the satisfaction of watching him go to prison. He's made every payment. It's been 2.5 years. The business is doing better than ever. We brought in a new operations director, someone who came with 3 references I actually called, a background check I actually ran, and a partnership agreement, drafted by attorneys who specialize in exactly this kind of dispute prevention. Daniel and I have not spoken since the day the process server found him. And here is the thing nobody tells you about surviving a betrayal this deep. The anger fades faster than you expect. What stays, what I still carry, is the education. The hard, expensive, irreversible education about what it means to trust someone with something you built. I don't regret building the company. I don't even fully regret taking on a partner. I regret the assumptions I made, the oversight I skipped, the warning signs I explained away, because the alternative was too uncomfortable to consider. If there is one thing I want you to take from this story, it is this: trust is not a system. You can care deeply about someone and still have financial controls in place. You can respect a partner completely and still require transparency. Those things are not contradictions. They are what protect you when someone decides to test just how blind your trust really is. If this story hit close to home, whether you're navigating something like this right now, or you're just someone who's been carrying a story of betrayal that deserves to be heard, this channel exists for you. Every week, I'll be bringing you stories like this one, real situations, real consequences, real lessons, and occasionally, real revenge. Subscribe if you stayed this long. It means you get it. I'll see you in the next one.